Hello everyone, welcome back to alkaline hydroxide 784. Sorry for the background noise if you happen to hear it, because I can hear a lot of background noise. Anyways, so today in the GP overview series, you'll be looking at social media. And yes, I think you'd have probably already written an essay on social media, like, is it beneficial or is it harmful or whatever. And this is precisely what this episode will be about. To some extent lah, like there'll be the benefits and the harms or the issues that we are facing today. So first off we should actually clarify what exactly is social media. I mean, you can you can define it specifically in your essay, because you are free to change the definition as you wish. I mean, not too much, but to some extent you can narrow it or you can broaden the definition. But yeah, I'll be talking about the definition of social media, and then also about the benefits and the issues that arise in social media. Okay, so what is social media? Well, we can figure that out from the name itself, because it's social and it's media. We have social, which is interaction between different people, and media, which means it's a digital platform in this case. I guess media could be considered as a word that describes things like newspapers and TV and everything, but in this scenario, the media is referring to digital media. Okay, so like, because media, the main definition is just that it is a platform for information. But since we are usually referring to digital things, we have the digital adjective there as well. Okay, so we have like the ancestors of social media, which are 6degrees, which is the very first so-called public social media, which is really based on the idea of 6 degrees of separation. And MySpace, which I think you might have heard if you go to BuzzFeed or something. That was in the 1990s, I think. I don't know, when was MySpace even created? I've never used it, but okay, cool. Anyways, and that led to Facebook, which I'm pretty sure we all know about, even though we probably don't use it, and eventually Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, and more. But technically, these are not the only things considered as social media. It's not just a place where you post your pictures and then you say, "Wow, you look so good," or I don't know, give whatever comment you want, and then you go and like some random tweets or something like that. No. Other like Reddit and other forums are also considered as social media. And apart from that, stuff like YouTube and also blogs and things like that are also social media. So yeah, social media is a much broader term than you think it is. It is as broad as whatever digital stuff that involves someone trying to share some information. But it is different from a normal website, because a normal website is just, they just put it one time and that's it. But a blog, for example, you keep putting new articles in it, or you keep sharing your personal experiences, and people can also comment on your blogs. Likewise, for YouTube videos, they post it, but there's a lot of commentary below. Like, a lot of people put comments and then talk to each other in an indirect sense. And in Reddit and other forums, it's literally for discussion, which is interaction between people. And in the usual thing that you would consider social media, I think we can figure that out ourselves. So the idea of social media is that it is social, which means that there is interaction between people. So it can't just be like a one-off thing, like you just put some information and then people just kind of read it and go. It's not like that. There needs to be some sort of interaction, and it has to be a platform where there's actually some information put in there. Whether it's useful information or not, it's just information. Right. So that is the definition of social media. You can feel free to narrow it in your essay to maybe only talk about stuff like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, or you can keep a broader definition like the one that we have here. Okay, so now let's look at the reasons why people use social media, which is kind of like the benefits or like the good stuff that you get out of social media. And these are like very easy to come up with. Like, I've probably done it in my own GP essay already, like long ago. Okay, actually it's not that long ago. It's only like a few years. Okay, never mind. So I won't get into too much detail, because you probably already know how to explain these things. So first one is people like to use social media because they can network with others without the restriction of time, location, and sometimes even relation. AKA, you can talk to other people anonymously, or you can just talk to strangers in general. And that's one reason why people use social media. You can talk with random people, or you can talk with your friends anywhere, anytime. Your family who lives in another country or anything like that. You can talk to anyone at any time. And the second reason is that it is an informal platform. To some, usually it's an informal platform to share stuff easily or communicate freely. I mean, even if you have stuff like LinkedIn, which is a bit more job related, it's still pretty informal compared to, you have to like literally go for an interview or anything. But on LinkedIn, you can just talk like you're having a little chat with that person. So it's slightly more informal than, going face to face and talking to people. And it's easy to share stuff, it's easy to talk with other people there without much barrier, or like you don't have to worry about being shy or anything like that. So third reason is that you can find other people with the same interests as you. So for example, if you like to crochet, or if I don't know, if you like to crochet, you can probably go to a Facebook group with some very cringy name and that's very dedicated to crocheting, and you can join that group and you can talk to other people who like crocheting and then learn some new designs and stuff like that. Or if you're more into looking at images and already written there like tutorials, you can go to Pinterest and someone would have a crochet board, like a board on crocheting and stuff like that. And you can see which ones are liked by many Pinterest users and then choose those to do the same. So there's still interaction there. And the next reason is you can share stuff easily, like for example, videos on YouTube. So, let's say you want to show that, oh, look, I can draw this cool thing. And then you decide to take a video and then you put it on YouTube. It's very easy to do it. You don't need to pay anything. You just open a YouTube account, put your stuff in, and then show it to everyone. And of course, some people might argue that there is a technological barrier to it. Like if you don't have a computer or a phone or anything, then it's hard to do that. But increasingly, this barrier is being dissolved as more and more people have access to phones at the very least. And phones are like small, and hopefully it doesn't even have to be like the super high brand phones. It can be like a cheaper local variety as well. As long as it's a smartphone, it should work. And the last reason is that it is different from the real world. So if you think about it, going online is like, you feel like you're taking a break from what you do normally in real life, talking to real people. You can feel like there's a difference between that world and this world. So some people may like this feeling, and therefore they use the social media to, just feel different, or like maybe sometimes they want to live some sort of a fantasy, like, or look at idealistic things. Even though they can't really do that in the real world, they at least look at it through an online lens. So yeah, now let's look at some of the issues that arise in social media. So the first one is, I think the one that people are most concerned about is the privacy concerns. So this section will be on privacy and permanent digital footprint. Those are two things that will be in this particular point. So the first one is, usually what you would say if you're writing an essay, maybe you say, oh, look, your employer can search you up. They can literally stalk you and find out whether you did some really funny thing that would prevent you from getting hired. Yeah, that's the usual stuff you can say. But there's possibility that there's even worse consequences, like even more scary consequences. So for example, if someone like accidentally uploads a nude, or someone else uploads their friends or someone else's nudes, but and they didn't know about it, then it becomes really hard to remove, because once it gets into the online network, it's quite hard to fully remove. Even if Facebook and all, like, they have that deletion thing, we never know if it's truly deleted. And that can be a detriment to your self-worth, or like yourself. You feel embarrassed, you feel like demoralized by the fact that there's this thing online that you can't erase. And yeah, you get the point. So it's a negative consequence. And even if it's not something like a nude or something, it could be some other thing that could implicate you in a different way. And yeah, you can just generalize this to any information that may make you seem like they'll put you in a bad light or give you a bad reputation. Yeah, generally around there. And the other thing is that your photos or information and all that, they're sometimes used in things without your permission simply because it was freely available on social media. So sometimes you can notice that in some articles or something, they may use pictures of people which were just sitting there in their social media accounts and publicly available. And you probably wouldn't want your photo to be used in that thing. Even though you keep it publicly available, you don't really want it to be used without your permission, which is a violation of maybe your privacy to some extent. And yeah, that's the issue that social media ends up presenting, because it allows this to happen if you're not careful enough to make your photos and videos private. Okay, so apart from that, another thing that happens with in terms of privacy is the fact that your information can be hacked. I think we've talked about it many times before, and a lot of hacking does go on, even in social media platforms, especially. And when your passwords and your information are hacked, that could lead to even greater consequences of other accounts being hacked, or if any other incriminating information or very private information might get leaked out. So just realize that there is definitely this privacy issue, or like the fact that whatever you do is completely just stuck there in the internet forever. Yeah, so that's the first point. So the second point is that there are misleading ads. And yeah, so the second point is about advertisements. So they're either misleading or there's issues with certain targeted ads. So in terms of misleading ads, it usually happens when, it's kind of similar to what I mentioned just now, people using your stuff for a different reason. And this can, apply to products or things that you make. And let's say in Wish, right, sometimes they use like pictures that are actually belonging to an art creator, and that art creator maybe did some really nice artwork or something, maybe your nails or something like that. And then the person in Wish wants to advertise a nail product or something, and then they put the picture of that person's nails, like, look at this, it's very cool, we can do this kind of stuff. But that's not good, right? You're basically stealing off someone's work to promote your own product, which is uh, not a good thing. It's an infringement of their rights and stuff. So that is a misleading ad. And another reason why it's misleading is because it's not their product. Like, they're not showing their thing, but they're showing other people's things. And it could even be for the actual product itself. So maybe if you have a pen, sometimes the Wish seller may use a pen that isn't even there. Like, it could be like uh, the same pen but like a different make or a different place of origin, and they could probably just take the picture from somewhere else and then put it as their own. And then when you buy it and then you get the product, it looks completely different. So there is that misleading ads problem. And what's worse, the description of the ad would be vague enough to make one buy without really, reading deeply into the fine print to actually see what is the real product, rather than just relying on the image that's there. As I mentioned last time in the advertising one, well, advertisements online are pretty much visual in nature. And yeah, this is one way they can exploit that. Okay, so what about targeted ads? So targeted ads are like the kind that you get after you browse, Facebook or the internet for some time, and then you get some ads that are targeted to you. So maybe if you like, if you like certain things, maybe those things will get advertised to you. But usually what happens is targeted ads are based on the demographic information rather than what you really click most of the time, especially the Facebook ones. So let's say if you're a female and you're a certain age, then the ads that come to you will probably be of female makeup products, for example, and not really anything not really a lot of male related products or something like that. And this is really based on stereotypes and generalizations. So this usually leaves out certain people who might actually want to buy the product, and also kind of makes you feel a bit irritated to be receiving ads for things that you probably don't want to buy. And one example is in terms of job postings. So there was one study where they tried to, they just put some job postings of different kinds, and the ones that were traditionally seen as female jobs were shown to females, and the ones that were traditionally seen as male jobs were shown to males. So this is one area where this can be a problem, because there are definitely females who want to do jobs that are traditionally seen as male jobs but are now increasingly, more gender equal in the sense. So that is what I mean by targeted ads. And this is usually, but of course this has nothing to do with the social part of social media, but more of just how the platform works, and this is more of the ad part of the situation. And I guess you can still use this for that part of that kind of essay, maybe on how the ads work, or whether the privacy concerns are real or not. Yeah. So the third thing I'll be talking about is this thing called catfishing and grooming. So basically everything has got like two things grouped together. So here we have like catfishing. This is when you have a scam where someone pretends to be a pretty lady or a handsome guy to lure people to send them money. I think this is like the thing that you get as the government, those government ads that tell you don't fall for the scam. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what they're talking about. Someone might be catfishing you in order to get your money. Of course, that one is usually just a loss of money most of the time, so it's not so bad. But there's something that's even worse than catfishing, which is sexual grooming. So in this scenario, it's usually done by middle-aged men who pretend to be either maybe another friend, like a teenage girl, or they pretend to be like a nice older advisor to random unsuspecting teenage girls, or even younger than that girls, who are just going on social media and need some friends to talk to. Then they try to like talk to them and then just be nice, just pretend to be a nice person. But then eventually they will kind of try to brainwash the little girls to actually do sexual stuff for them. And that's terrible. So uh yeah. So if you want to know more about that, you can probably look at the link below. You can see what are the consequences, and I don't really know why they do it though, but it's a bad thing that happens, and parents do need to be aware of that. It's actually quite hard to notice that for some, girls who are actually quite old enough to really navigate the internet. Even they can have even they may not be able to detect that the other person is trying to sexually groom them. So yeah, it's an area in which parents help is needed, in the sense to prevent such things from happening. Okay, so the next one that I'll be talking about is fake news and deep fakes. Actually, this is the last one that I wrote down, but then I realized I forgot one more, so I'll talk about it at the end. Okay, so in terms of fake news and deep fakes, well, you already know about fake news. There's a lot of fake news, and it's increasing day by day. And especially the ones that are politically related, we have to really be aware of it and check our sources, see whether the source that it came from is legit or not. But of course, there are still people who don't do it, so the fact that there's fake news on social media is already a big problem. And yeah, so they usually tend to be an issue if it's politics related, or if it's like those health facts or some action that may be beneficial or detrimental. Then they say, oh, it's like this, and then people just blindly follow. It may lead to certain problems, or actual, it may accidentally harm someone. And of course, you can kind of compare this to something like, for example, if you watch Jack's Films, the YouTube channel, he does some fake facts videos, and those things are really very harmless fun, in the sense they're pretty like lame fake facts that just about random things. So those things are okay, like even if you spread them around, I think that most people will just be a bit confused. But if you have something that is politically related, or fake news about politics or about health, that could actually cause some serious consequences. So of course, in this scenario, you can kind of ask yourself whether the harmless fake facts are also detrimental, or are they okay to be to spread around or not. In the sense, you can choose to ask yourself that question and answer it for your own, to make your essay a little bit better. So yeah, apart from politics and health, I think another place where fake facts can be a problem is if it's about a certain group of people. So for example, if it says, oh, this group of people behave this way, or kind of like you're trying to stomp that group of people, but you're doing it in a very fake, false way, then some people may believe it, and then they harbor some unneeded stereotypes that may not be very good for that group of people. And yeah, that's about fake facts. And what's worse than fake news? Well, deep fakes, because deep fakes brings the whole thing to a whole nother level, because they are literally videos. And and unless you know a lot about these, unless you know a lot about this topic, you may not actually notice that it's actually a deep fake video, and you're more likely to believe what you're seeing compared to what you just read. You know what I mean? Like, seeing is believing. It's the same thing as the misleading ad. It's literally just the visual part of it that's really like the big thing. And of course, I already mentioned deepfakes a lot of times. So if you want to know more about it, maybe I'll try to link to the page where there's links on deepfakes, or I can just copy and paste it again or something like that. Okay, cool. So that's the stuff that I wrote down. But there was one more thing that I want to talk about, which is the FOMO issue and peer bullying. Okay, so FOMO slash body issue kind of problems. Well, this happens when you go online and you see other people be dressed up really nicely, or they have like a nice, I don't know, silhouette in a sense, or at least you see them in a very ideal sense, and you feel like you're not living up to that ideal state of being. But what usually happens is, on social media, photos are edited, sometimes things are staged. Like, even the life can be, somewhat staged and not truly as ideal as it seems. So that effect can, be quite detrimental to your mental health, if, because you feel like you cannot live up to that particular idealistic lifestyle or state of being or whatever it may be. And that can lead to certain issues like body image issues, or maybe just feeling like your life is terrible or something like that. Basically, mental health issues. And likewise for FOMO, it's very similar to that. And it's maybe your friends are doing something, and then you feel like it's like peer pressure. You have the fear of missing out, and that can also lead to mental health issues in general. So I guess FOMO can also be something that can make you buy certain things more. Like, maybe if you see a lot of people using a product online, then you want to buy that object too, and in the end you never use it. It could be a waste of money. So it's, apart from just mental health issues, it can also lead to certain, just unnecessary following of certain trends. So like buying a product, or maybe following trends like the Tide Pod trend, which is definitely dangerous, or other such trends that can be dangerous and lead people to do dangerous things. And apart from these two things, we have the peer bullying. I think this one is something that we probably heard about in primary school. They talk about it all the time. Do not do cyberbullying, because that is bad, and also the consequences of cyberbullying are quite bad. And this can happen pretty easily on social media, just because people feel like that anonymity, and they feel like they can just get away with it because it's not the real world and it's online. But you know what I told you at the very beginning? Well, your information is stored there forever and forevermore. So I don't see what exactly they're trying to do here. And therefore, I would like to say, think twice before you type. Don't just type hastily just because you can type. Think before you type as much as you think before you say stuff, in a sense. And also, if people do give you bad comments, or like, tell you something bad, well, don't take it too hard. Maybe tell it to someone who can help to fix the problem, or if it's just one time, then ignore it and go about your life. I don't think this was necessary advice for a GP series, but still it is advice nevertheless. But that's one of the other issues that can happen on social media. Even though it's one of the older things that we usually know about for a very long time, even from primary school they talk to us about it. Right, so that's the end of this episode. The conclusion for this is, well, social media does have a lot of fun stuff. Like you can you can do a lot of things. You can talk to a lot of people, and it also has certain negative consequences. I mean, there's more that you can actually talk about, like for example being addicted to social media, or maybe just forgetting real life interactions because you don't want to talk to people in real life, so you become like incapable of social interaction, but you only do it online. That's another argument that you can talk about. So there's actually a lot of arguments for it. So I would probably advise you to go for that side of the argument when you're talking about social media, because it's very easy to talk about the negative things compared to the positive things. But if you can talk about the positive things well, then maybe you might end up doing even better. So who knows? It's up to you to decide what you want to do for in terms of telling whether social media is a good thing or a bad thing. It's as long as you argue it well, you can do well in this particular topic. Okay, so the conclusion is that social media has both benefits and negative things, and we have to be aware of those things when you're navigating it, so that we don't fall into the pitfalls of social media, and then we can try to maximize the benefits of social media. And yeah, we also need more regulation from both the government and the social media companies, and also from ourselves as well. Like we do self censorship, or we think before we do stuff on social media, and maybe just limit our usage so that we don't overdo it, or we don't like become addicted, or we don't become too obsessed with social media. Right, so that's about it. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please press the like button and subscribe. And with that, I would like to say thank you and bye.